Hello, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. Hi, this is Ganesh Naik. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students to clear the FRM and the CFA exam. Now, I'm back with one of my students' interview, Upkar. He has been able to clear the FRM Level 1 in his first attempt for the November 2022. And we are going to be talking to him about his journey, his challenges, and how he has been able to clear the exam. Also, the purpose of all of these interviews that I'm doing is to make sure that people get a sneak peek to what other people are doing when they're clearing the exam. So, what kind of motivation they have, what is the plan that they're following, all of this to the people or the students who are preparing for the upcoming exam. So, with this, let us start with the discussion. So, Upkar, thank you very much for taking out time and talking to us. It's way early morning, and I really appreciate you taking out time. And for the benefit of the audience, if you could tell us when you started the preparation for FRM and what was the background that you had.
Yeah, thank you, Ganesh. So currently I'm working with JP Morgan in their risk department, and the
Mhm.
complete work experience that I have is close to 1.5 years,
Okay.
prior to which I completed my MBA from an MIMS in finance. So
Okay.
I started my preparation for FRM in the month of June. So I enrolled in your classes. So
Okay.
it was live classes. So it was a weekend batch. So Saturday, Sunday was when you used to take the live classes. So that's how I started my preparation. The main reason is because of consistency, because with job, it's tough to manage and study. So
Okay.
basically, and I had seen a few reviews of, how good you used to teach. So basically, that's the reason I ended up joining a
Okay. And
coaching.
before joining me, did you read any books, anything?
Uh, no, so basically, whatever knowledge I had was from my work and my MBA. So
Okay.
I had read the brief about the syllabus of FRM, but then I had not done any studies prior to that.
Okay. And you were going through the Searcher book itself? Did
Yeah,
you refer to any other book?
no, I was just referring to the Schweitzer book. So
Okay.
just as your classes were going on, so just following according to that.
So you were watching the video before coming to the classes?
Right. So obviously because of my like my job, sometimes I used to watch it, sometime I could not. But one thing I ensured was whichever class I was finishing, I used to write the notes so that, I don't
Okay.
forget whatever I've studied. So, but whenever there were cases when I've seen the live classes and then come to the class, and that's obviously more beneficial for students.
Okay. And on an average, from June, how much time you were dedicating single day?
Initially, I had my momentum went really well till August. So June, July, June mid end, I had started. So June, July, and August, I was able to do quite well. So I used to study on an average of 1, 2 hours every day. I could manage, and even on weekends, I could manage 2, 3 hours. And then in between, after August till September and October first week, like my momentum kind of broke. It's not that I did not study, but the gap started coming in for 1, 2 days. So that
Okay.
was, and after that, I consistently studied.
But during that gap also, you were attending the lectures properly.
Yeah. So in that gap, sometimes I did miss the lectures, but I made sure that like I wasn't behind like for before like 3, 4 lectures or 4, 3 lectures. I was just even if I missed it, I used to just on weekends go through them again, and so that I could reach the spot where you're teaching.
Got it. Got it.
Right.
And then when you were reading, did you solve the question bank immediately or did you solve after some time?
Right. So for that, so I took some reviews from a few people who had also done FRM. So the strategy was, if you study and then you give the question banks, most of the people are able to do it. So I thought that probably even if I read about it and then I give it after 1 week or 2 weeks, that would
Mhm.
mostly check my knowledge about, how well I remember it. So I
Right.
used to give it mostly after 10 days or 15 days after going through the lecture just to see how much of it I
Okay.
still remember.
And when did you complete your first reading of the entire content, all 60 chapters?
Yeah, so actually it was very close to the exam. So I completed it mostly in the mid-October. So it was just close to 1 month before the exam. But then
Okay.
to ensure that after that I could do like a first or a second revision, I had taken a leave from my office for close to two
Okay.
weeks, in which I just sat at home and close to 12 to 13 hours in the day I was giving it just to
Okay.
uh,
So 15th of October, you were also able to complete the chapter-wise question, all of them.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. If there would have been the consistency from that August part, you would have
Hmm.
been able to complete by end of September or before that.
Correct. That's right.
Okay. Okay. Now,
Yes.
when you were reading, which book you felt was tough for you?
So when I went through it, so valuation and risk models was something that I found a little tough because the number of chapters in that increases, and also financial markets and products. So these two end up having a little higher number of chapters.
Okay.
Foundation of risk management is something which is theoretical and it's quite self-explanatory, which I feel the students can also add up seeing a little documentaries or videos about the mortgage crisis or the financial crisis that happened in the US market. So that's quite
Mm.
manageable. So is a quant if somebody is coming from an engineering background, or even if they are not, it's quite basic maths that if a person sits through can easily go through. So the two other books that I mentioned,
Book three and
Financial
book
Markets
four.
and correct, 3 and 4.
Okay. While you were solving, what was your approach? See, you solve 30 questions, you get 15, 17 correct. What were you doing for the wrong correct
Right.
questions?
Okay, so the good thing about the whole preparation was as you had given an Excel, which gave a breakthrough of how to go about the chapters. So suppose I was doing options, I
Mhm.
was clubbing them together. So all those 5 chapters of options, I was doing them together. And I side
Okay.
by side, I used to mark on the Excel in terms of colors or color codes, or in terms of how good is my, preparation in that particular chapter. So if it ends up being very medium, like in this case that you're saying that I'm just getting 50% of the answers right, then I used to basically revisit and reread what basically is my weak point or the weak section in this particular chapter, or from what particular section is
Mm.
the questions coming, and I'm basically not good at it. So I
Right.
used to give a
Okay.
reread on it, and used to find a little more questions from here and there, but basically just rereading it because the concept is not clear, and
Okay.
seeing
So
your
from
videos.
each chapter, which page or which learning objective is problematic for you?
That's right.
Okay. That's a
That's
very good way. Now,
right.
when you completed your, by 15th of October, mid of October, you were done with
Correct.
reading and solving. Then what did you started doing? What was the approach after that?
So after that, my approach was quite clear. So the good thing is after you complete your syllabus, at the end you also have a revision classes in your course. So I basically saw what are the important sections in every chapter. In
Right.
addition to that, in the month of November, also people started giving exams. So I kind of started making notes as to in this particular book what are the important sections from which the questions are mostly coming, the
Mm.
trend. So what is the trend? So that is what I started doing, and mostly just clubbing, as I said, options together, derivatives together. I used to sit together and make sure that I'm revising 5 chapters again, doing their questions as well. So that was basically my
Okay.
approach for last
Okay.
21 days.
And did you solve mock papers and how many?
Yeah, so I basically did one mock paper. I should have done basically a few more definitely, but I could get the chance that to do just one because of the fact that my syllabus ended a little late because, as I said, I faced little consistency issues.
Mm.
But I gave more in my mind. I had basically the method that I followed was that I'll be doing sectional wise, like I'll be taking one book as how it is. But at the same time, as you know, to get the feel that the exam is very long, it's 4 hours. I gave just one more just to get the feel of how it would be.
Wonderful. And with respect to before going to the exam, how many times you would have read the surgeon book?
So I would have read the book at least minimum of 2 times. Uh, if
Okay.
Yeah, so 2 times is what I would have gone through.
Okay. And when you went to the exam on the day when you started started the paper, what happened in that first 1 hour?
Okay, so luckily for me, the first 1 hour went very smoothly. Like I could solve the questions that were coming my way.
Okay.
So usually it happens the opposite way for a lot of candidates that, they
They
lose
get
track of
difficult
what's happening.
questions.
Correct. So luckily for me, my strategy was quite simple that whatever uh, just, get done with that first, keep solving. So even if there was a question where I had like a 50-60% or a 30-40% chance that I'm not understanding it, let's reread again. I was not wasting time on that. I was just
Okay.
shifting to the next question because I knew what my strong topics were. So especially quants, where it's quite
Hmm.
basic in terms of probability, the
Got it.
conditional probability or Bayes theorem. So it's quite understandable that this is something that you can crack like once you start solving it. So I was just hitting mostly maths question and my two other books which were really strong. I was just doing their questions as well as other books also. But the point being, I wasn't wasting any time so that I had enough
Okay.
time to come back and look at the
So how
things that are
many
there.
theory and how many calculation questions were there in your paper?
So in my paper, there were close to 60 to 70% of theory and 20 to 30% of a quant paper.
Quant. So
So it was
quant
a lot.
part or the calculation part, you were comfortable, you solved everything?
Right, right. Yes, that I could solve everything. And as well as the theory part from Foundation of Risk Management and FMP was completely fine. The only issue that I faced was during my revision, I could figure out like when I studied, there are close to 60 chapters. That 5, 6 chapters are something that are not good at. I'm not good at.
Okay.
So actually, my bad luck in that happened that from that topic, a few questions came. So, but
Okay.
yeah, like rest I could manage.
Okay. So, but when you were solving the theory question, how many questions you felt that options are very close?
Uh, Especially for book one, I would say that foundation of risk management, the questions that come, unless you have studied the theory, because people take book one quite lightly in terms of it's just, something that could be done in the end. But that's where the options I found were very, very close. Like, things like enterprise risk management, uh, chapters that you might not even feel that are important, but during this time in FRM, they were, questions were coming from those chapters as well. So those were the chapters where I found that the questions were actually quite low, like the options were actually quite close to each other. So in theory, I would say at least half, 40% to 50% of, the questions that come are actually very close, and you have to go through
Got
it,
it.
like the option.
Got it. And then when you came out of the exam, was there
Yeah.
any number in your mind that, okay, I have got 60 correct, 50 correct?
Right. So when I came out, actually the good feeling was there that it's gone well. But at my mind was more in terms of the questions that I could not solve. So I had written that I had not solved close to 12 questions in which at the end I had to randomly select like because there's no negative marking. 12
Okay.
questions. So I was curious in terms of what were their answers. But then I knew that at least close to 60, 55, 60 is something that I was expecting that I've done it correctly because
Hmm.
uh, my speed, as I said in the exam, was good. So in fact, I could solve everything and the recheck and everything 20 minutes before the exam. I was like completely done. So
Okay.
I actually left the exam center 20 minutes before the exam, which I suggest
Wow.
people
Okay.
not to do to sit. But then I was just probably I studied too much that I was like, this is the maximum I can do, and the rest it's fine. We'll see how it goes.
But still, I mean, 88 questions is what something you did your best effort. 12 was something
Right.
which you had to just take a calculated guess,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. Now,
Right.
when the results came out, what are the quartiles that you've got now?
Yeah. So I got 1-3-1-3.
One, three,
So
one, three.
uh,
Okay.
right.
So
So
financial markets, good, very good, excellent.
yeah.
But
Correct.
third in the this your
Right.
VAR book.
Correct.
Now,
That's right.
if I ask you that if somebody comes to you as a student and ask you, give me 3 tips for preparing for the FRM level 1 exam, what would that be from your experience?
Right. So I would like to first step would be a lot of people do it under peer pressure that my friend is doing it, let me do it. So I did it with a keen purpose that want to make my career in risk management, and my experience till now in JP Morgan as well as prior to that in ICICI Bank has been in risk. So first
Mm,
of all, be aware about whether this degree is even inclined to where you want to go in life, because then you
okay.
should see a purpose, not just as a stamp of, having an FRM next to your name. So you should have that practical experience.
Got it.
So a lot of people get confused with CFA and FRM, and in terms of fear of missing out on these degrees, they do it. So first tip is that be very clear about if I'm getting into it, I need to crack it. Second tip I would suggest to people is like start as early as possible, even if it's reading very basic chapters. The days when it's like 6, 7 months away seems like you have a lot of time, but if you are working, then especially like the middle months, if you're giving an attempt in like November, it goes off very fast. So start as early as possible. And third is like stick on to one source, and especially try to study in a not in a group, but in terms of take someone's guidance or have a mentor. Like in my case it was you. So the reason I was able to clear my exam, to be honest, is because of you, because there would have been no consistency if I had not you know seen what's happening on the groups, or like I could see that other people are also preparing, they have jobs as well.
Right.
So to maintain consistency, especially if you're working, uh, then even if you're a student, because you have your classes on Saturday and Sunday, on the weekend. So people should have a mentor in this whole process, or have a 2 or 3 friends who are giving it, with
Right.
you. Collectively feel that you're not alone, and that it's fine. But the two factors that I've mostly seen in people that they want to clear it is because the high expensive fees of the exam.
Right.
And secondly, they also see that I've entered, so let's now clear it only. So that ways. So these would be my 3 tips.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And now, what has been the reaction of people when uh, when the results are out? People know that you have cleared the exam.
Yeah, so everybody was quite happy. My parents were really happy. In fact, it became a very big deal in my office as well, because
Wow.
like in JP Morgan as well. So I got a lot of congratulation messages, because in India, a lot of people are giving these exams and they think it's quite basic, and a lot of people have cracked it. But if you see it from perspective of foreign recruiters or foreign companies as well, in US especially, it is considered a very very hard or tough exam to crack. So, and a lot of people don't give it there. If they are totally interested, then they know that let's give this exam. So it becomes a really big deal over there. So I got a lot of messages in that way also. So obviously a very positive environment. And right now my focus is more towards level 2, because it's gonna be like
Got it.
obviously a notch higher.
Got
Yep.
it. Wonderful. Thank you, Upkar. I mean, this conversation is going to be really motivational for working people, and to in terms of their how should they plan. There are going to be times when you're not consistent, you're not motivated, but still you have to continue the process, and at the end you'll be able to clear the exam. Like you said, two books, book three and book four, you're not that comfortable, but you still managed to clear the exam. 2 months, you're not consistent in between, still you managed to complete the exam. So definitely a lot of students or working professionals who are going to be preparing for the exam, this interview is going to be good motivational factor for them. So thank you very much for taking out time and talking to us, Upkar.
Thank you so much, Ganesh.